Yes, welcome back to Home Studio Q&A for yet another week here on Studio Live today. My name is Pete Johns, and this is our show all about home studio, home recording, home video, funniest home videos, maybe not. If it's your first time here and you're on the channel for the first time, this is where we help you create, record, and release your best music. If you have not already subscribed to the channel or you're not following me on all the different social places to keep up with everything going on, head over to studiolivetoday.com and you'll find everything you need to know about recording in the home and mobile studio. What is today all about? Well, this is our Q&A show. So I'm going to be answering some questions that have come in through the week. I'm live here on Facebook and YouTube. So if you are here live, please drop a comment with your question. Just put question in big capitals in front of it so that I can catch those. And we also have a bunch of questions from the week that I'll be answering as well. However, like most weeks, we're starting off with our feature topic. So what we're talking about today is live streaming. Live streaming has become super popular in recent times for fairly obvious reasons, but it's been growing organically anyway for about the last 5 years, from when it was only the really super uber geeky that could work out how to do it because it took a lot of effort and a lot of software, to now where you can literally pick up your phone, press one button on Facebook, and you are live to the entire world. So we've come a long way. And in this, I'm going to break it down into a few sections. We're going to talk about what platforms you can stream to, how you can actually stream to those platforms, some tips about streaming, and then what gear you'll need to consider. And if you are in the market for gear, whether it's for live streaming, for recording, or for anything in between, head over to studiolivetoday.com/gear, GEAR, and my complete gear guide is there. So if you want to know all the stuff that I use for my live streaming setup, for my home and mobile recording setup, jump over to the website. Let's jump in though. What platforms can you stream to? These days, pretty much anything. So I'm streaming on YouTube and Facebook, and I'm using a platform called StreamYard. We'll talk about that in a moment. You can also stream to Instagram. You can stream to TikTok. You can stream to Periscope. You can stream to LinkedIn these days. Basically, any social media platform, any media engagement platform is going to enable you to stream live. Different platforms have different rules and things around them. For instance, YouTube, you can only stream from your mobile device if you have 1,000 or more subscribers. However, you can stream from a Mac or a PC, regardless of how many subscribers that you have. Other platforms like Facebook, as I mentioned, is super simple to stream to. Same with Instagram. Literally open the app and then hit the go live button and you're live. You can do it on your desktop as well, directly from your browser. So there's a heap of ways that you can go live, and you can stream to multiple people. You can even use some platforms to stream with other people. You'd be aware that a lot of people are using Zoom, Google Hangouts, other things at the moment. If you want a private stream, you can set something like that up as well. But we'll be focusing more on when you want to stream your music, stream your content out to the world. So how do you go about it? Well, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. You can either use the native app. So if you've got an app on your phone or your tablet, if you've got the website, you can go directly to facebook.com and hit the live button. So you can do it from the native app. You can also do it from, as I said, mobile or from your desktop. You can use cloud software. Now, this is my preference at the moment. I use this platform that you're seeing right now. This is called StreamYard, and it allows you to stream with up to 6 people at a time. You can screen share. You can stream out for the free version. You can stream to one location up to 40 hours per month, I think. And the paid version, you can stream to multiple locations. You get good quality streaming. You get good quality video and audio, and you get the interactive features. So the comments will pop up. You'll be able to throw comments on the screen. You can do all sorts of cool things. So I can put a comment up if you're watching the video. I can put this comment up here from Jade saying, if you have questions, just add question at the beginning. And it just creates a really good interactive experience for you and for your viewers. So that is my recommendation. There's other different cloud software as well. The other thing you can do is use either apps on your phone. So Streamlabs is an app on your phone that can help you with your streaming, or something like OBS, Open Broadcaster software, on your Mac or PC can really help you bring different scenes together, different audio and video sources that you can actually present on your live stream. Last but not least, third but definitely not least, what about some tips about streaming? My number one tip is to keep it short and on point. When you're starting out, there can be a real sort of desire to just hit the live button and start talking. Now, that's okay, but at least maybe have 1 or 2 topics that you're going to cover. If you just hit live and you start talking, you may do like an hour-long live stream, and it won't really have any sort of significant focus. And that can be challenging because the whole point of live streaming is you want to share something poignant, share something emotional, share something fun with the rest of the world. So keeping it short when you're starting out to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that can be a great plan. Have a plan or outline, so know what you're going to talk about. You don't need a script by any stretch, but at least have a few dot points like I have right here now. Have some dot points to keep you on track. Otherwise, again, if you're like me and you like to ramble and talk, you're going to go on probably too long. Try to avoid dead air. So the other things I've talked about will help you with that. If you have a lot of dead air where you're just there reading comments and it's silent for 10 seconds, that's going to be disengaging. And when interacting, when someone is commenting on your live stream, make sure that you are actually putting the comment out there. So I can say, oh, James Arell's here in the house. He said, hello, Pete. Hi, James. Hope you're doing well. If I'm just reading that comment, which I've just popped on the screen for those on the audio version, then it's not going to be as engaging because you want to, and this is the last tip, you want to make sure that there is replay value in your live stream. So you want to make sure that once you put your stream out there, it's not just for the people watching. Because here's the thing, the stats are in. About 10 times as many people generally, sometimes 20 times, sometimes 50 times, will actually watch the replay of your live stream compared to the actual live stream. We're conditioned these days to watch on demand. So when you're putting out a live stream, don't just think about the people that are watching at the time, think about the people that may be watching in the future and how your stream is going to engage with those people. Last but not least, let's talk gear. Now, if you're using your phone, you can literally just use the built-in mic and camera on your phone. You need zero gear to get started. What I would recommend, though, is getting yourself some sort of headset. I just use this. It's the JBL Endurance Run. This is, again, it's linked at studiolivetoday.com/gear. Just a very affordable, about a $20 headset with a good quality microphone, in-ear earbuds. Just means you're not going to get a whole lot of feedback and things going on when you're live streaming. And you can plug this into your Mac or PC as well. So this is super universal, super handy to have. If you're looking to up your audio and video game, you can then move into buying some more gear. So a USB microphone is a good option. I use the Samson Meteor. You can use the Blue Yeti. It's a very popular streaming mic. Check out those again over at the Gear Guide. You can use a headset, like any USB headset, or you can go the whole hog and do what I do. Use headphones, use a mixer, use an XLR microphone and an audio interface or a mixer. So you can basically level yourself up. You can literally start today, hit the record button and do your first live stream, do 5 minutes about whatever and get started. As I say with music, if you don't know where to start, just start. But again, take those tips on board, have a plan, have an outline, talk about something that you're interested in. Your passion will flow through and you will find other people that share your passion. There are people right here now that share my passion for home studio and mobile studio recording that are here watching this live show. So other people will engage with you if you follow some of those simple advice and tips with your live streaming. Let's jump in now and get started with the questions here on the show. So once again, if you do have questions, please jump in and put question here if you're live. But for now, we'll jump into some of the questions I've had during the week. We'll jump in. I'll throw up on the screen here. Always makes me laugh when I say throw up on the screen. Here's a question from Kuma-san. Is it possible to get the sound right out of the iPad itself? I can only get sound if I use headphones. Now, this was a question about the iRig. And here's the problem. When you're using any audio interface with your Mac, your PC, your iPhone, your iPad, whatever the platform, once you plug that in, that becomes the audio input and the audio output. Now, I've had this question a bunch of times because what people do, if you've got an older iPad that has a headphone jack, people are plugging into that and going, my audio is not coming out. Any device that you attach, if it has audio output, the audio will come out of that device. So if you're using an iRig and you want to hear back what you're playing, you need to plug into the headphone jack. It can't play out through the speaker and it can't play out through the headphone jack on your iPad. Now, if you want to hear that out loud, what you'll need to do is get yourself like one of those portable speakers that has an aux in and then get a 3.5mm to 3.5mm cables to send the line out into a speaker, plug it in through your stereo, plug it through a mixer or an interface and actually, or to your speakers and get that sound out if you want to hear it out. But unfortunately, there's no other way to hear that sound if it's right there on your device. So yeah, keep that in mind. If you're using an audio interface, plug your headphones or your audio device directly into the interface itself. Let's move on to a question here from Jessica Peter Paul. Hi, I'm trying to do this now, and when I go to the App Store, there's no workflow. So this is in relation to converting audio and video to MP3 on an iPhone or iPad. So I've been playing this game of kind of chasing the best method for converting audio files on iPhone or iPad, especially when you want to use MP3. Here's the problem. MP3 is not supported natively on iOS. So that creates a problem that if you're trying to convert to MP3 specifically, you can't do it. You can only convert to M4A. There used to be a workaround in the Workflow app. When Apple bought the Workflow app and turned it into shortcuts, they removed the MP3 support. So now there's no way to do it through shortcuts either. However, you can use some audio conversion apps. The one I like and that I use the most at the moment is called Voice Record Pro, and I've got a video. If you search Pete John's MP3 Converter app, you'll be able to find my recommendation for Voice Record Pro, or just jump to the App Store and download it. It lets you convert from mono to stereo to mono, 16-bit, 24-bit files. You can convert to M4A, to WAV, to MP3, sample rate, bit rate, everything is covered. So super handy app to have in your toolkit. But yes, I'm going back, finding all the references. It's challenging, all the references over the last 5 years to MP3 and putting links in those videos so that when you watch them, it pops up and says, go to this newer video, get over here. So hopefully we can get that done soon. Let's move on to the next question here. Now this is one that I get a lot, and now this is about how to change the pitch in GarageBand. And the question is, I don't have any plugins. Why is that? So if you're using GarageBand on your iPhone or iPad, here's the problem. It's slightly different on your iPad and iPhone. And these days when I do a video, I always make sure I explain that. But if you're trying to get to the mixer icon, it'll be in the top left if you're going in through your iPad. But the problem is, if you're on a smaller iPhone, you actually have to first go to the top right, hit the little down arrow, and then hit on the mixer icon, and then it'll pop the mixer up on the left. It's a little confusing, but if you are going, hey, I don't have these plugins, I don't have the ability to do that, that's probably the problem. If you're missing the free Apple plugins, then there's a little spot that you need to go in the options to actually enable all the free Apple AU plugins. And once again, there's a video. If you search Pete John's free Apple plugins, you'll find a video showing you exactly how to do that if you are missing those plugins. Let's continue on here. Here's one from Frederico. It says, I have a question for you. I have a song at 100 BPM, and when I try using the smart guitar, the guitar goes in another tempo. Is there a fix for this? I don't want to modify the song tempo because I'm afraid of modifying the drummer track. Thank you. So this is a question about GarageBand again. So bringing in a loop into GarageBand. Here's the problem. GarageBand will not let you change the tempo of a WAV file or an MP3 file that you bring in. You need to do all of that outside of GarageBand. Now, I still haven't quite found the perfect technique or app to use, especially a free one, to change the speed and pitch of a loop without impacting the quality. And you can't do that directly in GarageBand. So what you'll need to do is if you bring a loop in, if your loop's at 100 BPM, then match your song to that. Or if you bring the loop in and the loop's actually 110, change your song to 110 to match the loop you're bringing in. It will maintain the best audio quality. Even if you have a really good quality converter and you change the speed and you change the pitch or the tempo, it's never going to sound quite as good as that loop or that beat in its native tempo. So wherever you possibly can, my recommendation is keep it in the native tempo, the native pitch, the native speed of the original loop if you are using loops in your project. That's my personal opinion, but I do need to find a way for those that do want to adjust these. What's the quickest and easiest way to grab a WAV file, change the speed, throw it straight in, match it to your project? But thank you for your question there. Another question here about connecting USB audio interfaces from Jasper. He says, hi, Pete. Thanks for the great video. I'm looking at using my Alesis 4-channel USB mixer as an interface for my iPad 4th generation. The mixer requires mains power, which I'm using. Could you please advise if the Apple Lightning to USB adapter is compatible with this tech spec? Many thanks. So here's the short answer to this one. And I talk about it in a video about class compliant devices. So here's the thing. If a device such as an audio interface or a mixer or a MIDI keyboard or any audio device is class compliant, it means that it doesn't need a driver to actually operate. The problem with a device that does need a driver is that you can't install drivers on your iPad or your iPhone. So it'll work fine on your Mac or your PC because you can install that device driver and that will actually enable it to work. if you have a device that does need a device driver to work, you can be pretty confident that it's not going to be class compliant or iOS compatible. The problem is older devices that didn't actually spell this out, so it can be a bit of a trial and error thing to work it out. However, pretty much every interface and mixer and audio hardware in the last at least 5 years, almost 10 years now, since iOS has been a feasible way to record, are actually class compliant and will have at least a driverless mode that is going to work. The reason I recommend Steinberg interfaces is that they are all 100% class compliant out of the box. So any Steinberg interface, the UR12, UR22 Mark II, UR22C, UR44, they are all class compliant. Things like Alesis, Presonus, Focusrite, Behringer, their newer interfaces are class compliant. Some of the older ones will not be. So you do need to be a little bit aware. And again, unfortunately, there's no real way. And I'll throw in the usual thing I do here. If you're connecting USB devices to your iPhone or iPad, please use a genuine Apple Lightning to USB adapter. I'm not saying that just because I want you to spend $30 instead of $10. I'm saying that because I have been using these for 5 years. I have tried all of the cheap knockoffs. They sometimes work, occasionally a bit, sort of. So if you want that, if you want your music to be all about sometimes working and all about occasional goodness, then go for it. If you want solid reliability and to not have to worry about whether your hardware is going to work or not, get the genuine product. Let's jump over here and see what questions we have from the folks that are here live and what's been going on here. So we have a question from Sion, says, how do you compress multiple audio files? I have like 20, 50 megabyte files. I know AudioShare can do one, but is there a way to handle multiple files? Now, when we're talking about compressing, if we're talking about converting the files, then that's a really good question. I'm going to put that out to the community and hopefully someone has an answer. I must admit, I'm only ever really working on one file at a time. And assuming you're meaning file compression, not audio compression, as in adding a compressor to a file, then yeah, if you want to zip, okay, so there's a couple of things here. If you want to make them an MP3 file or you want to compress them and turn them into a zip file, yeah, you can do the zip file thing by just going to the Files app and selecting them all and hitting the compress button, adding them all to one archive zip file. If you want to compress them all to, say, individual M4A files or individual MP3 files, I would assume that there's an app that can probably do that in iOS. I don't know about it. Folks like Jade Starr or Marcus Manderson, who know a lot of iOS apps, might have a suggestion for this one. Me personally, I'm not sure, but thank you. Thank you for the question, and hopefully we can get you an answer. Hello to Chelsea Cotton. Good to have you here. Is there a way to make a brush drum sound? So if you're asking about GarageBand, there aren't any brush drum sounds in GarageBand. A couple of the loops sound kind of brushy. Some of the 60s loops have a bit of a brush feel to them. There is an app that was recommended a couple of weeks ago called Soft Drummer, which I haven't tried yet, but others here on the Studio Live Today community have tried and have said it's pretty good. So that might be an option. I think it's a paid app. It's about $10, $15. So that's an option for getting your brush drums. Or, of course, you can actually go and find some drum loops. So just go to something like freesound.org and search for brush drums and see if there's any loops or any samples that you can use and pull into your project there. Let's see if we've got any other questions. I'm scrolling up for the word question. I don't see anything else that has question. Once again, if you do have a question, helps me out if you put question in front because we'll be scanning through. In fact, here's one. Gino has done exactly that. If you're using the drummer in GB, Logan, Anders, etc., how do you change the beat every section? I'm new to using these drummers. I used to just program beats, but I want to try the drummers. Yeah, the drummers are really, really cool. So if you are using the drummer, this is the virtual drummer app. So again, if you go in and you go to the drummer, those yellow drummer tracks that pop up in your iPhone or iPad, what you can do is, I think of drummer as like you being a producer and you're saying, okay, play a beat that's a bit more like this. You don't have complete control, but you have the ability to instruct them. So what I tend to do, Gino, to answer your question is I'll put my drums in sections and then I'll say, okay, this drum beat, I want this to be on the hi-hat and I want it to be complex and I want it to be a bit louder. Coming into the bridge, I want you to come over onto the ride cymbal. I want you to make it a little bit less complex and I want you to change up the kick pattern. So you can basically give a bit of guidance and it's a bit of trial and error. But what you can do if you want to say a particular section, so say you want 1 bar of fill coming into a song, well, you can basically just split your drummer part. So you got 8 bars of drummer, split it, grab that one part, copy it, paste it over into the first one, and then tweak the settings on that one. And in fact, if you want a full review, if you search my name and drummer, there's a couple of videos where I've done entire songs and I've shown you step by step how I actually use the drummer to program in my drums. But a great question, and it's a really good way to get some solid drums in your GarageBand projects. Alrighty, let's jump back in to the questions that we have here. I've done that one, so we're going to jump over here. So this is in relation to my best free plugins for GarageBand. This is from Randy Motts. Hello to you, Randy. After downloading a free app onto my iPad to use with GarageBand, how do I get it into the GarageBand app so I can actually use it? Right now it appears as a standalone app on my iPad. So let's talk a little bit quickly about this. There's a couple of different things to consider here. Some apps on your iPhone or iPad are 100% standalone apps, which means that they're not either audio unit or inter-app audio compatible. So that means that you can just play them, you can output the audio, but if you want to use it in GarageBand or another digital audio workstation, DAW app, you can't do it. There are ways around that using things like Audio Bus and AUM, where you can actually grab the sound from another app and bring it on in. So that's something else to consider if you do want to do that. Most apps these days, however, have one of two modes. They're either inter-app audio, which means you can go into GarageBand, go external, go into app audio, and you'll see the app listed in those list of apps. And you bring that in as an instrument, and then you play it using the separate app, and it records the audio from that app directly into your GarageBand project. The second, and in my view, better way, and I say better because Apple are actually deprecating the inter-app audio, which means they're removing it from future versions of iOS. It's still in there for now. It'll probably still be in there for the rest of this year. But in the future, all developers are going to have to move from inter-app audio over to Audio Unit or AUV3, Audio Unit version 3 plugins. How do they differ? Well, what they actually do is they integrate into your digital audio workstation, and instead of just sending the audio, they send the data. So you've actually got the ability to basically program them just like you would a virtual instrument. It uses those green tracks, the virtual MIDI tracks in GarageBand. You can actually program those in, and then it just calls on the sound from the app as you're playing it back. So it's a great way to add in things like iSymphonic. Use this. The Sax app, the Central Sax app that I really like, they all have audio unit abilities. So check those out if you and the Moog. What is it? The free Moog Model D synth is also audio unit compatible. So there's some cool apps that can do that. So hopefully that helped you, Randy, and anyone else having problems with plugins and adding those into your tracks in GarageBand. That is a good way to do it. Question here about releasing. As I mentioned at the start, we talk about creating, recording, and releasing here on the show. Quick coffee break, sorry. Need a little caffeine to keep going. Can I drop 2 songs from my album one week and then drop the 2 songs of the album the next week, or does it only let you use the album title once? So yeah, this is an important thing. If you are looking to release your music, there's a lot of questions. A lot of people have questions about singles, EPs, albums, how they all work, how they come together. Can you release an album and then release singles off that album? Can you release singles and then release an album of all your singles? So the short answer is yes, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. What you need to do is every different release is its own entity. So think about it this way. You are uploading the audio to DistroKid or your distributor of choice. They're then sending that audio with the information like the track title, the album artwork, or the metadata out to Apple Music, Spotify, all the other places. Excuse me, Google Play, all the other places. And then those stores release that. If you then want to go and release something else, you need to re-upload any of that audio. So let's say that you release 5 singles in 5 months, and then at the end of that 5 months, you say, I want that to now be an EP. You can't then go back to DistroKid and say, hey, put all these together and push it out as an EP. You need to grab the original audio files and then recreate that, put the title as the EP title, the individual track titles, and then re-release it. So I hope that answers your question. There's no way to sort of aggregate a bunch of stuff and then say, just put all these in a playlist, release that as an album. You do need to do it separately. Now, the reason I love DistroKid is that they keep a copy of your original high resolution audio. So if, like me, you've occasionally lost the final master file, or you're like, oh no, which file did I actually end up uploading? Was it Final Master 2, Final Master really the final one this time? you can actually download the one you uploaded to DistroKid. They keep a copy for you. So it's a simple case that if you release those 5 tracks, you go to DistroKid, you re-download the 5 WAV files, you create your album artwork, you re-upload those as the track titles, you tick the little yes, this has been released before box just to show that it's the same song, and then you release your album or your EP, you're good to go. Hope that helps you out there, and I hope that helps others with the whole single EP album process you may be thinking about. This is a question about zipping and unzipping from Vincent. Says, hi Pete, my iPad runs on iOS 13. However, I don't have the compress feature on the 3 dots. The only function I get is copy. Can you throw any light on this, please? Best wishes from Dublin. Yes, I can. So I can shed some light, and I've actually responded to Vincent, and I think I responded via email as well because you emailed me a similar question. The thing is here is there are 2 locations on your iPhone or iPad that look almost identical just to make things as difficult as possible. One is GarageBand, and the other one is the Files app. Now, if you're in GarageBand and you go to those options, so you're trying to compress files, it won't give you the option. You need to actually go into the app called Files and go down, hit the 3 dots and hit compress. The challenge is they both look identical. They both have all your locations down the side, all of the files over on the other side. It looks like you're in the same spot. So if anyone's ever having this same problem where you're like, I'm trying to copy, paste, move, compress, I'm trying to do some file actions, but it's just not working, just go, aha, Pete said, I need to check. Am I in GarageBand? You check. Oh, I am. Go over to Files, go to that same location, you'll be golden. And I say this through experience because I have done it personally a whole bunch of times. Next question here is about USB audio interfaces again. So this is a question about the Behringer UMC404HD. Will it work correctly with GarageBand? Thank you in advance. This is from Dorsley Marducci. So yes, I can confirm that. I've tested the Behringer UM2. It does work well. I know folks that use the HD series, the 202 and 404 HD series, and they also are class compliant and work. Keep in mind though, you will need to power them. Now, I think the 404 actually uses AC power, so you'll be fine there. But things like the UM2 or the UM202 HD, they actually need to have some sort of power. So I always recommend a powered USB hub so that you can actually get power to your interface, any MIDI keyboards, any microphones, anything you want to use, you can always power. You can also use the Lightning to USB 3 adapter from Apple. That has a Lightning port, and sometimes just by plugging that in to some power, then your devices will have enough power and your iPad or iPhone will have enough power. If you don't have one of those 2 things and you're using something like that, it may pop up that whole, this device uses too much power. Although if it's a plug into your AC, you may be okay. But just keep that in mind, that they are some of the things that you need to think about. Always think about how you're powering things, because there's sort of 2 things. Is it class compliant, as we talked about before? Will it work? And the second is, has it got enough power to make sure I don't get that this device uses too much power, which is a silly thing that nobody likes. Question here from Alex, and this is about distortion, clipping, and pumping. And he says, question, when I use merge, the new combined item is really loud and sounds like compressed, a very aggressive attack. Is this normal? How can I merge things keeping the original sound? So yes, you can merge things using the original. You can merge things. What it does do, though, is it normalizes. So it'll normalize the audio, which really just means it's going to turn the volume up. Now, it shouldn't do compressing or limiting. Some people think that it does, and it's hard. No, we don't know the internal workings. So I don't think it's actually compressing. I think it's literally just turning your volume up to 0. But if you've got something that you're trying to sit at like minus 12 dB and suddenly, boom, it's pushed up to 0 dB, the maximum volume, then it is going to start sounding aggressive and it is going to start sounding too over the top. Short answer is turn the volume down. You can do that in 2 ways. You can turn the slider volume down, or you can actually use clip gain. So if you tap on, this is in GarageBand, by the way, if you tap on the audio, a piece of audio, and then go settings, you can go and actually drive down the gain, the volume. I know gain and volume are different before someone says, well, actually, but you can drive down how loud it's going to sound, and that will actually fix that problem. So hopefully that helps you out and helps you get up and running with your your merging. But yes, it is. It's annoying that it has that. So GarageBand has 2 auto normalization things. When you merge, you can't turn off the normalization, and when you actually export the final track, it also auto normalizes, which you can't turn off. So if there were, they're always in my list of things. If I do my top 10 list of GarageBand things I want to see, those two are usually in there, is the auto normalization. It's great if you don't know, if you just want to go, oh, that did that automatically for me. But again, like most things, it'd be a great option if you could turn it off as well. That's a photo of my little boombox that's here in my photos, which shows you that I use my iPhone for all sorts of things. Thankfully, it's one of the least embarrassing photos in my camera roll. Let's move on to a question. How to use USB flash drives with an iPhone iOS 13. This is, hi, do I need to download any app in iPhone for the files in USB drive to appear, or simply plug it in its iPhone? So yes, with a USB drive, let's do the quick checklist on USB drive. It's similar to a USB audio interface in that you need to consider power. I know USB drives you should be able to plug right in, yeah? No, most USB drives require additional power, meaning you'll need a Lightning to USB 3 adapter from Apple, the genuine one, and then you'll need to plug in additional power to get it to power up that USB drive. Same with card readers if you're doing the same sort of thing. Number two, needs to be an FAT format, so you can't have NTFS. It needs to be the FAT format if it's a Windows drive, or it needs to be in the HFS plus, whatever the Mac one is. I'm not a Mac guy, but whatever the Mac version is, you need to have that standard format for your USB drive to work. And that's about it. Then in terms of the software, you just need the Files app. Now, the Files app is standard. I've heard from some people that they've deleted it. Don't worry, you can go to the App Store and re-download it if you've deleted files, like the File Manager app. But yeah, you need the Files app, plug it in, have some power, have the files in the right format, and you'll be good to go. Now, that's a few things to consider, but if you do all those things, you will have happiness and goodness in your world forever and a day. And another question here, and we'll finish on this one, and then we'll jump over and see if there's any final questions live. And this is how to use USB flash drives with an iPhone in iOS 13. So, yeah, and sorry, that was the question. That was the video. Doing well here. The question is, can you transfer GarageBand files to USB? You can. And I've had another couple of folks run into problems with this during the week. So yes, you can transfer GarageBand .band project files. However, you need to zip them up. So keep that in mind. Every time you're transferring, if you ever have an error, if you're trying to email a project, if you're using Messenger, if you're using WeTransfer, if you're using, what's the one that we call WeChat? I don't know. There's a heap of different things. If you're using any service and it's not working, excuse me, I'm getting all choked up about the ability to share files. If it's not working, here's the problem. Apple use a proprietary format, which is called .band for GarageBand iOS projects. It only works in the Apple world. So if you're transferring using iCloud Drive, or if you're dropping from one iPad to an iPhone or something like that, you'll be fine. As soon as you go to Google Drive, Dropbox, email, WeTransfer, any of these other platforms, it won't work. It'll just say, this is an invalid file. You'll transfer it and it'll say, this file's been corrupted. You're a terrible person and you should feel bad. And then you do. So here's the tip. Compress it. Use the tip we said before. Go to the Files app, find your GarageBand.band project, select it, tap in the bottom right on the little three dots, hit compress. It'll turn that .band magically into a .zip file, and then you can use it to your heart's content. It'll make it compatible across every single platform, regardless of what you want to use. So that is my tip, and hopefully helps you out. Let's jump over here. I've seen a couple of final questions here, and then we will finish. We will finish off. I thought I saw a question. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm making things up again. You're making things up again, Peter. I might have. If you did have a question and I missed it, I apologize. There's lots of chat here, but I haven't seen the word question as I scroll up. So if I did miss your question, no problem. If you're watching on the replay, or if I missed your question here live, all you need to do is jump down to the comment section of this video, leave your question there. Myself or one of the other wonderful members of the Studio Live Today community will be there and will be able to help you out, answer your question. You can also go to studiolivetoday.com, find out all the ways you can follow me on social media. My email address is there, but it's pretty simple, pete@studiolivetoday.com. You can join the mailing list. You can become a patron on Patreon. You can check out the gear guide. Seriously, there is so much that you can do there, so much information, and over 1,000 free videos all about creating, recording, and releasing your best music in the home or mobile studio. Thanks again for being part of Home Studio Q&A for another week. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the next one.